All right, I want to show you guys something here. And I took notes because I don't want to miss absolutely any points, okay? Now, I'm going to dismantle this Terrence Howard 1 times 1 should equal 2, as he says, and it should be tied into this video's, chain of videos I'm going to be attached to it. I'm going to be attaching to it. But we'll start with this, okay? What is math? If we look at your reality, people say that it's a your life or life in general is mathematical, and I'm pretty big on this. It's a language, okay, and we've quantified it in the form of numbers to be able to express or communicate our worldview. Okay, there's just like words were quantified in a way to be able to express a worldview or a communication of reality. But then this actually forms a sort of imprisonment for yourself. But when you have, for example, Terrence Howard saying 1 times 1 equals 1, there was a video or a clip where he says that, first of all, he said it should equal 2, where 1 times 1 equals 2, and that's the way it should be. But then when he got challenged on it, he said that this is a metaphor for challenging the status quo. Okay? Now, if everything is ran on binary codes, and when we look at certain sequences of events in life, you'll see that everything has many variables. But when you change a variable, it has drastic outcomes toward a specific thing that's occurring in reality. Okay? You may change a variable of the past. Who knows? This is why we can say Mandela effects exist and whatnot. But this is all done because all this is in the mind of people. This is why in order for all this to work, it has to be done through the individual's mind. Your mind makes real whatever it may be. Now, I'm watching a debate on the Joe Rogan podcast between Terrence Howard and Eric Weinstein. And Eric Weinstein is basically a scientist. And Terrence Howard, as he self-describes himself, is an uneducated black man who was able to figure all this out, and he's challenging the status quo. But now, the main problem here is that creation is created, okay? And if you wanted to change anything about creation, you would have to change yourself. Where in actuality, in an alternate universe, you will experience that. So in an alternate universe, whatever it is that you believe about reality exists already. You're not going to get rid of this one. It doesn't work that way. Okay? You're in a realm based on your frequency and vibration. And unless you change yourself, you won't change anything outside of you. So yeah, in an alternate reality, if you change the variable, you may cease to exist in this reality. You may even just not exist living here, and that's just the way I see it working. But I want to show you here something where when we even look at the word quantum, what is the origin of the word quantum? So the definition of quantum is the smallest unit of a phenomenon. Now, the origin of the word quantum in Latin, because it comes from many different, it could become from, Hebrew, Germanic, Arabic, or whatnot. But look at the Latin origin of it. It means how much or quantity. That's where the word quantum came from. It's from the Latin word quantity. Okay? Now, when you have the word quantity, it branches off into different words. Okay? You got the word cuánto, how much. Cuento, all right? You could say I'm counting, or yo cuento, meaning I count. Or you could say yo cuento cuentos, means you're telling a story. So a story of life. And if you look at, for example, I branched out to the word change. When you want to change life, you use the word cambio. And cambio is change, but it's also where if you're counting money and you give somebody a round number and you're supposed to get change back, this is where I it correlated this word cambio as far as how we're using numbers, as far as like using a round number, having leftovers, and having change to be, returned to you in a retail store or whatnot. Now, cuentos is to tell or express. So you're telling. So I can say, yo cuento. No, I could say this. Cuando, meaning when, right? Cuando yo cuento cuentos. Y digo cuando cuento esos cuentos. Now, this is going to be very, very confusing because I just basically used all these words in one sentence, and suppose that somebody didn't understand what I was saying, I may sound like I'm a genius. And this is why sometimes when I hear, for example, these two arguing like Eric Weinstein or Terrence Howard, I don't understand a goddamn word they're saying because they're using all these words that come from like these, and it's to sound smart because they're playing word games. That's all they're doing. Because when it was time for Eric Weinstein to push back on Terrence Howard's idea of 1 × 1 = 2, all he did was throw another word salad in there. And I'm going to tie that little clip in this video. And in actuality, when you look at this, okay, suppose that I have one Sharpie. And I say, hey man, give me one. Suppose that I have one. 1 × 1 is 1. 1 time. So suppose that I say 1 2 times, that's 2 markers that I may have. But suppose that I tell you, hey, I give this to you, and I say, hand me this Sharpie 2 times. It doesn't mean I'm going to have 2 Sharpies if you only had 1 Sharpie. Now, suppose that I told you, hand me this Sharpie 2 times, and you had 2 Sharpies, I'm still only going to get 1 Sharpie because I said, hand me this one. Now, suppose that I gave this Sharpie to you, and I say, hand me Sharpies 2 times in my hand, and you happen to have 5, then I can have 2 Sharpies because I said, hand me 1 Sharpies 2 times. So you're giving me 2 Sharpies now. So that's why 1 × 2 would equal 2. 1 × 1, 1 time equals 1. Now, here's the funny thing. In Spanish, that 1 × 1 is uno por uno. Okay? I'm going to use this in a sentence. Okay? El hombre fue hecho por Dios. What I just said there was the word por. El hombre fue hecho por Dios. Man was created by God. So you notice how 1 × 1, 1 by 1. You see? Like 1 by 1. So when you're in a line and there's a group of 10 people, you're going to be passing over the line 1 by 1. Okay? It just depends on context. Do you see how math is a language in and of itself? So when you have a guy like Terrence Howard saying that 1 × 1 = 2, well, you would have to say, what do you mean? 1 × 1 = 2. And from what context are you painting this picture from? Because if you're using words, like I can use the word right, how many different meanings can I get out of that word right? Okay? And even the word right, to say I'm right means I'm correct. Being correct and then being wrong, or doing things from a perspective of right and wrong, that means it would be positive and negative. Now, even humans having rights, humans really don't even have rights because they're affirmed in the negative. So do you see how you have to really, really know how to dismantle these things without having to go into the science, these long, crazy scientific words of things? And the crazy thing is that this is how religion started. Because in actuality, math is a language, and it's a quantification of life. That's why you have like Superman in the comics would be like the image of Christ, and you have Darkseid, who's his arch nemesis. He's looking for the anti-life equation, and life is based on mathematics. All right. Now look at this. Uno más uno equals 2. Uno menos uno es 0. Uno dividido por uno is divided by itself is 1. Now, here's the crazy thing. He said an action times an action equals a reaction. Now, before I get into that, look at this. Por qué is the why. That's what and what's. So when you're telling a story, you have a reason for why you tell the story. You have people buy into your story. When you're telling stories, your cuento, cuánto, cuento, cuándo, when. When to tell the story, and it says cuánto, how much. That's a frequency. Okay? You have the why, people buy into it. That's the what's. That's your paying attention. You adding energy to that reality. Okay? But this is all done within, because when you want that change, okay, this is going to happen within you. 1 times 1, Terrence Howard said, he equated that to an action times an action equals a reaction. And why did I put the word religion? Because this is why people, they'll listen to him, they'll buy into this, and then he'll go spewing the most complex things after that with all these crazy long words, and they'll say he's so smart, and then people buy into that reality. Because if you look at an action times an action equals a reaction, I had to really sit with that and say, what the hell does that even mean? Because if, let's say he does a video, right? I'm taking the action to watch a video, right? But he took the action and he made a video. I took another action to watch the video, and then I may react to his video. It didn't make him have 2 videos. It's all of this is all happening revolving around one video. Now, different videos about his video may come out, but it doesn't mean that his video was multiplied 2 times. He was the original one who came out with that video. So I don't know what he means by an action times an action equals a reaction, because a reaction is not a number and actions aren't numbers. So I don't even know how you could equate these things. What I can equate is if you're looking at masculine and feminine, an action, okay, times an action, which if he was going to look at it by that would be masculine times a masculine would still be a masculine. Okay, we're in a patriarchal universe over here, where the realm that we're living in. But if you are going into a reaction, you're now falling into feminine energy. Now, if I say 1 on 1, right? 1 on 1, like 1 versus 1. 1 on 1, like if you have a fighter and he's taking on somebody else, you would say 1 on 1. 1 on 1 is 2 people fighting to basically create one dance. Whether you look at it as a fight or whether you look at it as a debate, whatever it may be, you're creating one event. So if I debate Terrence Howard, it's 1 on 1. That debate would be 1 on 1. The reaction of that 1 on 1 debate will be a situation that we would call a video that that we can create for everybody to see. One video. But if you have an action times an action, which would be 1 times 1, it would be replicating itself. That would be infinite. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1 times 1 equals 1 times 1 equals 1 times 1 equals 1. It's still going to be one thing happening.